The afternoon sunlight spilled softly through the curtains of the living room, painting warm golden streaks across the carpet. Emma Harrison sat cross-legged on the floor with her laptop open, pretending to type an essay for her college class. But truthfully, she wasn't working. Her mind kept drifting toward the same thought that had been consuming her for weeks. Her parents were leaving for a short trip, and it would be just her and her brother's best friend, Ryan Miller, in the house for 3 days. Emma was 20 years old, in her sophomore year at the University of California. She lived at home because her college wasn't too far, and it made more sense financially. Her brother, Jason, was a senior in high school, and Ryan had practically grown up alongside him. Ryan was always around, helping with basketball practice, sharing late-night pizza, or just hanging out in their living room. For as long as Emma could remember, Ryan had been like family, the boy next door who became part of their daily lives. But lately, Emma found herself noticing him differently. He wasn't just Jason's goofy best friend anymore. He was tall, with dark brown hair that always seemed a little messy no matter how often he brushed it, and he had an easy smile that made people comfortable around him. He had grown into someone thoughtful, kind, and surprisingly mature for an 18-year-old. Emma caught herself looking at him when he wasn't paying attention, wondering if he ever thought of her the way she thought of him. That week, her parents announced they'd be attending a family wedding out of town. Jason was scheduled to be away on a school trip, leaving Emma at home. The only complication was Ryan. Since Ryan's parents trusted the Harrisons and were also traveling, they asked if Ryan could stay with them for those few days. Emma's mom, unaware of the undercurrent of tension Emma felt around him, cheerfully agreed. So here it was, just a few hours before her parents would head out the door, and the reality of being alone in the house with Ryan was sinking in. Her mom bustled around, giving last-minute instructions. Emma, remember to water the plants. And don't forget to double-check that the back door is locked at night. Ryan, thank you for keeping an eye on things too. I trust you two completely. Emma forced a smile. Of course, Mom, don't worry about a thing. Her father patted her shoulder. We'll be back in 3 days. Be responsible. Then came the moment Emma had been anticipating with nervous dread. The car pulled away, her parents waving out the window, and the house fell into silence. Emma turned around, and there was Ryan, leaning against the kitchen counter, holding a soda can, watching her with an unreadable expression. Well, Ryan said with a grin, looks like it's just you and me now. Her heart skipped. She laughed nervously. Yeah, just us. At first, things were casual. They cooked pasta together that evening, arguing playfully over how much salt to add. They watched a movie in the living room, and Ryan stretched out on the couch while Emma sat curled in an armchair. But every time his hand brushed against hers while reaching for the popcorn bowl, she felt sparks. She told herself she was imagining it. On the second day, it rained. The steady downpour made the house feel smaller, cozier. Ryan suggested they play board games, something they hadn't done since they were kids. They sat cross-legged on the floor, playing Scrabble, teasing each other over silly words. Emma couldn't stop laughing, and Ryan kept looking at her with that same expression, half amusement, half something else she couldn't quite place. Then the power went out. The whole house went dark except for the faint gray light filtering through the storm clouds outside. Emma froze. She hated power outages, they made her feel trapped, vulnerable. Ryan noticed. Hey, don't worry, it's just the storm. I'll light some candles. He moved through the house with calm confidence, and soon the living room glowed with the soft flicker of candlelight. Emma sat quietly, trying to steady her nerves. Ryan sat down beside her on the floor. Better, she nodded. Yeah, thanks. There was a long pause. The rain beat steadily against the windows. Emma could feel the warmth radiating from Ryan's shoulder even though they weren't touching. You've been quiet tonight, he said softly. What's on your mind? Emma hesitated. She wasn't sure how much to admit. I don't know. Just life, I guess. Ryan tilted his head. Life, or me. Her breath caught. She turned to look at him, and for the first time, she realized he wasn't joking. He was serious. What do you mean? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. He looked at her directly, his eyes steady. Emma, I'm not stupid. I've noticed the way you look at me sometimes. And the truth is, he hesitated, running a hand through his hair nervously. I feel the same way. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought he could hear it. You do? Yeah, he said, his voice low and sincere. I didn't want to say anything because of Jason, or your parents, or, I don't know. I didn't want to ruin things. But being here with you, Just the two of us, it's different. And I can't pretend I don't feel something. The room seemed to shrink around them, the flickering candles casting long shadows. Emma felt overwhelmed, shocked, relieved, terrified all at once. She never expected him to say it out loud. She smiled nervously. Ryan, this is crazy. Maybe, he admitted. But it's true. For a moment, neither of them moved. The rain continued outside, steady and relentless. Finally, Emma reached out and took his hand. It felt natural, like something that had been waiting to happen for years. From that moment on, everything changed. They spent the next 2 days talking about everything, about their dreams, fears, and what the future might hold. Ryan admitted he'd always admired Emma's determination in school. Emma confessed that she'd secretly compared every boy she met to him. It wasn't about sudden romance, it was about discovering something that had always been there but had never been acknowledged. When her parents returned home, the house looked exactly as it had before they left. But Emma and Ryan both knew something had shifted. They didn't announce it, didn't make a dramatic declaration. Instead, they shared a quiet smile that only the two of them understood. And that was the shocking part. Not wild drama or scandal, but the simple truth that sometimes, when parents aren't around, young hearts find the courage to say what they've been holding inside all along. Emma learned something important that week. Sometimes, what happens in the absence of parents isn't reckless or dangerous. Sometimes, it's the start of something real, something genuine, something worth waiting for.